Hi, everybody. This is Micah Lieberman coming to you from Scope and the voices of Scope. And as always, I'm talking to some interesting people in the world of clinical research and clinical trials and clinical trial technology. Cool stuff. Always fun people. So today I have Kelly Franchetti, who's the CEO of Patient View, and I have Jenn McAleer, who is the COO of the Patient View. And we were joking. I was like, who does what? I think they both do everything. So thanks, both of you, for being here. And we talked last week before the holiday, so welcome back. Your tagline, I love the tagline of your company, turning patient insights into action. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, Jenn, you first. So, well, however you want to do it. I want to give you a chance to say what your company is, but then we're going to get into like kind of a difficult question, something we talk a lot about at Scope as a community. So really quick, what is the Patient View?
Go ahead, Kelly. Go for it.
Kelly, on the spot.
The Patient View was really built to do all of that patient research ahead of time and then be able to sit down with these clinical teams and really put together a strategy that works for the patients, that also works for the pharmaceutical company or the CRO or the sites. I think that's probably the most important thing, is translating what that research gives us into very actionable strategic moves moving through any kinds of research that we're doing with patients and drug discovery.
Okay, that's a perfect segue into the question we were kind of what we were talking about last week at Scope. We talk a lot. You'll see a lot of words, case studies, people's job titles related to integrating patient insights into protocol development, better engaging patients, learning from them, et cetera, et cetera. And everybody agrees we are trying to run ethical, patient-centered, inclusive trials to have better outcomes and better research.
Right.
However, there's a challenge to some of this stuff, right? And I think everyone agrees that everyone's doing it to some level. So it's a difficult question. I was trying to figure out how to phrase it. So some of these Clin Ops teams were at different stages of this process.
Right.
They kind of miss opportunities. Some of it's related to strategic thinking, some of it's process stuff. So I don't want to put words in your mouth. Tell us a little bit of like, why? Obviously, you started a company for a reason. You have decades of experience in this. So there's a need. So tell us a little bit of like what some of these sponsor organizations you work with CROs to.
Yes.
What are they? I don't want to say where are they falling down. That's too strong. There's just opportunities along this timeline, right? These touch points. So I'll let you address that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a couple of different places, and I think it really just depends on, who we're working with and where they are in the process. When we talk about getting that patient insights, I think, companies are getting a lot better with getting that research, trying to incorporate that patient or getting that patient voice information. But I think where a lot can struggle is taking it and implementing it. Okay, so we know this. What exactly do we do with it? And I think, there's a couple of different reasons why it could be considered a struggle or a fall down, making sure going into it, making sure that internally you have the buy-in from all of the different areas that are involved in this clinical study. Because once we get this information, we have to be willing to make some of the changes that we're hearing about. And if we don't have that kind of internal buy-in, that could be an issue. I think also, getting the information and then it just kind of stops with that clinical team. And it's great information and they have it, but making sure to kind of pull it across, bring it through to the sites, bringing it through to everyone that's going to be involved with operationalizing that trial is another area where we see and I don't think it's purposeful. It's just kind of a a point where it's not being pulled through, and each team has, they're very specific. They what they're looking at, and they don't kind of think of that longer, that pull across. And that's something that we are always talking to our clients about how we can take this research and then expand it through all of the different vendors and touch points that are going to happen throughout the life cycle of that trial.
Right. Jen, what are you seeing? Like we said, Kelly just said something which is interesting. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on every trial is different.
Yeah.
Every company is different. But you mentioned something, Kelly, which is universal in any team, especially a larger company where my deadlines, everything I'm focused on is my set of patients, my trial. Maybe it's my company organized by therapeutic area, right? It takes really somebody with a bigger view, with maybe more authority, higher up to say, okay, you guys, we have an opportunity here to cross things, to actually pull this across, whether it's a data or whether it's these insights. Do you see that, Jen? Is that something that is solvable? Is that something that with your clients, it's like, how do you help them help themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that we see a lot is these clinical ops teams are overwhelmed. They work
Yeah,
really,
that's
really
total
hard.
reality. Yeah,
Yeah, they do. And they are dedicated to pushing the research forward. So I think there's a lot of times where they come in, they want the patient insight, either to mitigate something that's gone wrong, or, they're in early enough that we can, maybe work the protocol a little bit. Um, but they don't necessarily have the capacity to see the bigger picture. And so we've heard, if there's a recruitment stall, for example, and we start to discuss that, what do you think's going wrong? The answer will inevitably be everything. Everything's gone
right.
wrong because it's such overwhelm. And if we had the opportunity, or if that team had the opportunity to let us dig into that a little bit, let us talk to the referring HCPs, or do a quick survey, find out, why are they not referring patients? Or is there an issue with the site? Are patients not recognizing the sites that are being used as centers of excellence, and they're afraid to go to the cath lab in a place they've never heard of? And so, because we're not as overwhelmed as these teams, we can sort of easily see that bigger picture and provide really a holistic strategy that these teams can implement in patient insights and beyond, to really address what may be going wrong with the study.
You said two interesting things. I like holistic strategy. I think everybody would agree with that. That's everybody's wish. Like when you're inside of one of those teams, you're like, hey, I wish we would have done this earlier. And I wish my voice, I'm just Mike, a project guy on a specific team. And I know this. It's a common sense, right? It's a commonsensical approach to some of this, but everybody's moving really fast.
Yeah.
A lot of deadlines, and they're
Yeah.
doing a good job, but we all want to do a better job. So your point about, like, I don't know if this is the right words for what you said, Jim. You're like, we kind of have the luxury of, we're outside of your set of deadlines.
Yes.
So
Right.
we get to come in with, kind of a different set of, like, kind of a new set of eyes,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and the luxury of really only having this one focus. So
Right.
it's kind of, they get to augment their strategy and their ops teams by doing this. And it's good. It's smart. Do you guys find, Kelly, you were going to say something before I ask another
Oh no,
question.
go
We're
ahead.
almost out of time. No, do you find that smaller companies, this is a super broad statement, because of the nature that they're smaller companies of biotech, for example, they're probably they probably have fewer molecules, more focused patient populations. Is this less of a problem with them because operationally they're not so spread out, or is that just a false assumption?
I think it might. I think it's a combination. I think probably overarchingly, it's probably more of a false assumption, but I think I think they still come. because even though you're a very, very small team, that just means that there's not as many people working on it. So you
Okay.
still
Yeah.
kind of lose sight of that. I would say one of the things that we see and that I've seen over the past 10 to 15 years is the smaller companies, you can move a little bit quicker. And the majority of those smaller companies kind of already have the internal buy-in. So once
Okay.
we get the feedback and we're putting together strategies, you don't see as much kind of pushback from the internal because we've already helped them kind of put together guidance documents. And that is something I think, big pharma is working on, but they're so siloed off that it's very hard to get all of that buy-in and then be able to move quickly
Right.
and make those decisions.
Yeah. More touch points. All right. This is cool. All right. This is stuff we are going to be talking a lot about at Scope through
Absolutely.
different tracks. We have entire tracks dedicated just to talking about protocol optimization, right? Patient engagement and enrollment plan, all of these different things. And this is a part of all of that, right? So
Yeah.
we're never going to solve it in a 10-minute chat, but it was really cool to kind of touch upon it, Kelly and Jenn. So thank you for hanging out. Congratulations. I'm glad. I know you both have a long history with a lot of different companies. And I think it's cool when people go out and do their own thing. They're like, I could do this. And you did it. So congratulations on the patient view.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks for
so
having
much.
us.
You're welcome. Okay. See you at Scope.
See you
Take
at
care.
Scope.